Hello, Darshan Maharaja here after a long time. So, first of all, my apologies. I have been away for a while, and many people asked me on Twitter when I would be posting videos again. I was busy with other stuff, and frankly, I could have tried, but my schedule was tight. So, here I am, and I hope I'll be able to post videos more regularly or regularly. Uh, Secondly, I'm sure you are aware that the immigration issue has heated up once again with the Conservative Party hammering on that. My view is that while this is welcome, they are late by about 1.5 years. Uh, I think it was in spring of last year when I had posted a podcast warning about uh, the impacts that the high level of migration, I won't call it immigration, of temporary foreign workers and international students who are being allowed to work, the impact that it was likely to have on summer jobs, which we saw last year as well as this year. I think the unemployment rate among youth is north of 20% and the highest in more than a quarter century. So, yeah, it's a bit late, but better late than never for the conservatives to take that up. Um, one puzzling aspect to a lot of people is how all these LMIA based jobs, that is, jobs for which the employer claims that no Canadian worker is available, how all of them are offering a wage of around $36. There are minor variations, but most of them are in that range, $35 to $37. Now, the reason for this, and I have mentioned this on many occasions on Twitter when these discussions are happening, but once I put it out here on in a video, then it becomes easier for me to quote this video rather than type out the entire explanation again and again. The reason is that last year, when the changes were made following public outcry uh, about the LMIA jobs, and most of them were concentrated in low wage categories. So the government was forced to make changes to the policy, and then they said that LMIA will not be allowed. The job will not, I mean, the LMIA will not be approved in any area where the unemployment rate exceeds 6%. This is for low wage jobs. So the players who were taking undue advantage of this whole policy have shifted gears. They have moved on to offer everything in the high wage category. Uh, the rate again varies from province to province, but pretty much it's around that $36 mark. So all the jobs that are being advertised are at or around that wage of $36. Now the question is why there is such a huge demand among people abroad for taking these jobs. I have spoken about this extensively on various forums. Uh, I'll reiterate here that there is a thriving black market for these jobs for people who want to become permanent in Canada because in May of 2022, the Parliament passed motion M-44. And I emphasize here, I am the only one talking about it. Nobody in the media is talking about it, nor not the MSM, nor the independent media, or any individual content creator or influencer, whichever way you want to describe them. None of them is talking about motion M-44, which asks the government to create permanent residency pathways for workers, temporary foreign workers at all skill levels. Number one. And number two, it says temporary foreign workers, including international students. So, international students were primarily being seen as a subset of temporary foreign workers. The study part was secondary, if at all, in the picture. So this is what created the huge flood of people coming in here either on study permit or a work permit in hope of becoming permanent resident and then later on Canadian citizen. So this started a huge black market. LMIAs are selling for anywhere between $40,000 to $50,000. Now there are a couple of ways to look at it. First of all, as a person from Indian origin, and you know, majority of these cases are people coming in from India. Uh, my opinion is that if you've got like 50,000 Canadian dollars equivalent in Indian rupees, then it doesn't make sense for you to come here and work at slave wage. You can invest that $50,000, which is roughly 3 million rupees in India, and live comfortably off your income from mutual funds. So I don't understand this craze, but people have their opinion, and that's where we are. My opinion is not the deciding factor here. And then the United Nations called it the whole work permit regime as a modern form of slavery. So that is another negative part of it. Motion M44 was passed unanimously. This is something that I emphasize, and it angers conservative supporters, but we have to be objective. The vote was 324 to 0. Now, there is a side note here because at various times I have seen the parliament's website showing the vote as 324 to 0 or 323 to 1. So it brings into question the authenticity of government information. I have not understood how. And at various times, like a few days ago, I shared this with a friend of mine who is concerned about this. And he went to the parliament website, pulled up the page, and he said, Darshan bhai, there is one dissenting vote. I said, yeah, it keeps flipping back and forth. And for the record, that supposedly nay vote, which sometimes becomes a yay vote, is of Karina Gould, Liberal MP. So it's puzzling, but basically 113 Conservative MPs voted in favor of the motion. No single Conservative MP voted against it. Last couple of days, I have been asking Conservatives immigration critic Michelle Rempel Garner as to why. There must have been some reason, and Canadians have a right to ask for an explanation. And of course, she has not responded. Many people responded saying this might have been the reason or this is the justification. But I want to hear that from the Conservative Party itself, because uh, my view, and I have been open about this view, is that this motion M-44 is at the root of mass immigration. Following that motion, and as asked for by the motion, the government came out with various policies, including allowing international students to work 40 hours a week, that is full time, which begs the question as to when they were studying, etc., etc. But the whole mass immigration flood can be sourced to the beginning point, which was motion M-44. And we know that it has created generational issues. The entire coming generation is going to be badly and severely affected by that, which is why I want Conservative Party of Canada to clarify as to what their thinking was. Doesn't matter. Maybe they can say that, we didn't realize that it was going to be so consequential. Fine. But let them say that rather than self-appointed proxies saying that on behalf of Conservative Party of Canada. Now, there is a very, very valid question which I don't think anybody has asked, because in past couple of months I have seen mainstream media stories about this or that town in British Columbia or wherever, and they say that without temporary foreign workers, the town would collapse. That was the headline, actually, one of the stories. And elsewhere, less dramatically, people say that businesses need this to survive. So, in the next video, I'm going to get into that as well. as to whether Canada is an economically viable entity or not, if you take these claims at face value. Because if you have a cost structure, cost of living structure, that makes it unviable for Canadians to take those jobs. Therefore, you bring in foreigners who live in substandard conditions such that within the lower income they are able to survive, but at a lower standard of life. Then, whether it's an economically viable jurisdiction within the borders of Canada or within the borders of a particular town or city, that is something that I want to take a deeper look at in my next video, hopefully soon, maybe later this week. But there used to be a temporary residence to permanent residence pathway before motion M-44. And actually, if you dig into the parliamentary history of motion M-44, it is mentioned that this was there, then it was ended, and then motion M-44 kick-started everything again. But then the sponsor of the motion, Liberal MP Randeep Sarai, uh, posted a video on his social media saying that all temporary foreign workers will be eligible for permanent residency, which was interpreted as all temporary foreign workers will get permanent residency. Being eligible for something and getting that something are two different things, but this was the wink, wink, nudge, nudge kind of a messaging. And then all sorts of unscrupulous agents in India took advantage of that and ripped off uh, basically kids from poor families. That's, I don't want to get too much into the weeds here because otherwise this video will be 1 hour long. But that's basically, a large scale scam was perpetrated. The scammed were also scamming. It's a complicated mess. But that is where, where we stand right now in Canada. And therefore, in order to move forward, we have to be clear about how we got here. Now, in terms of everything else, I'm clear how we got here. But why the Conservative Party of Canada wanted to or voted in favor of this motion? Did they not realize that, for 40 plus years, immigration policy in Canada was based on a specific paradigm that we want to get highly skilled people because that is the way to increase productivity in an economy. And being highly productive, they would be highly paid. GDP goes up, they spend more, they pay more taxes, which goes to support the social programs. That was the entire paradigm. Now, making a 180-degree turn from that needs some solid justification. I don't think one exists, but if somebody has it, I'm open to hearing it. This motion M-44 was a complete 180-degree turn, basically, turning the paradigm on its head. So, what was the thinking behind that? That is something that I've been asking Conservative MP Michelle Rempel Garner, who is also the immigration critic, and other people pitching in is neither here or nor there. They need to be clear about that. If they think that they made a mistake, let them admit it and we'll forgive them. As long as they promise to fix it and have a clear plan to fix it, give us your plan. We'll see if it makes sense. And if it does, then everything is forgiven, although not forgotten. That's where I am, and that's what I wanted to say in this video. Now, in the next video, I'll go into the economic viability of jurisdictions in Canada. Stay tuned and be well.